Hi there, my name is Bob Lynch. I'm a member of the Marine Animal Entanglement Response Team here at the Center for Coastal Studies. What I wanted to do today was share a speed talk that I gave this past December at the World Marine Mammal Conference in Barcelona, and the title of which is Rethinking the Process of Whale Entanglement Through First-Person Observation. So the Center for Coastal Studies has been conducting whale research and disentanglement since the 1980s. Our research focuses on an area known as the Gulf of Maine, which is this area in the western Atlantic along the northeast coast of the United States. It's an area rich in resource with a robust fishing industry and with many whale species utilizing it for feeding. The large cetacean population in the area are well studied with a large amount of sighting effort from whale watch and research communities. Because of that, we know that the whales in the area have high entanglement rates. For example, thanks to the great work that the Humpback Research Program does here at CCS, we know that over 50% of humpbacks that use the Gulf of Maine have a history of entanglement. Numerous other institutions are working to better understand and prevent entanglements, but all these efforts require observational data. Entanglements are rarely witnessed, and relatively little is known about the events leading up to an entanglement. It's been proposed that if we were able to witness more entanglements as they occur, we could possibly gain insight into prevention. So to sort of try and attack that question, what we did was we reviewed all of our sightings from the past decade to see how many interactions we witnessed and what information we were able to gain from those observations. In over 15,000 sightings, we witnessed 11 whales physically interact with gear. All interactions led to an immediate and obvious change in behavior, which would be considered harassment under the United States Marine Mammal Protection Act. Those that did not become entangled returned to their previous behaviors, often at the next surfacing. Now, had these events not been witnessed, there would be no evidence that they occurred, given that they were resolved with no apparent physical injuries. Of the 11 interactions, 6 became entangled, 3 in monofilament from rod and reel-based fisheries, and 3 in rope. The reactions were similar across gear types, so that's to say that a whale that got entangled in monofilament, which is not likely to cause serious injury, would elicit a similar behavioral response as a whale becoming entangled in a rope-based gear, which is a potentially lethal interaction. Furthermore, we also looked at the color of the rope that the whales made contact with, and we saw that that varied with no strong correlation between color and environmental conditions. The whales were presumed to be feeding at the time of the interactions, and although we witness whales actively avoid gear, it cannot be expected that they constantly be vigilant. 2 of the 3 that became entangled had rope anchored in their mouths, and this ratio seems relatively representative of what we see in entangled humpback whales in the Gulf of Maine. The 2 whales that were observed with rope in their mouths also had wraps of other body parts. In some cases, the other wraps resolved themselves, but in neither case did we witness any lateral movement of rope through the whale's mouth during this initial time period. It would be easy to make the assumption that when a whale first makes contact with rope, few modest changes in behavior occur, such as slight change in depth and/or direction, a slight variation in speed, and possibly rolling. But what we observed was rather different, as you can see here. The behavior immediately changed with a rapid increase in speed, in some cases sustained speeds of 10 knots, frequent change in direction, rolling, and other movements reminiscent of defensive behaviors, such as tail slashing and flicks. So when reviewing these events, the observations suggest that when trying to model interactions or create new gear modifications based on assumptions about the moment of entanglement, we should keep in mind the unpredictable behaviors of these animals and realize that the gear will endure unexpected forces which may result in unintended outcomes. Clearly, the probability of witnessing such interactions are extremely low, so trying to acquire enough data points in a timely fashion for some species seems rather futile. The rarity of these entanglement observations and the volatility of the whale behavior witnessed suggest that reducing rope in fisheries is likely the most effective way to prevent entanglement. And with that, I'd like to thank all of my co-authors as well as all of you for listening, and I hope that you found this interesting. Thanks.